Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm going to give a quick minute to let other people, other attendees that we've had sign up, join. While they're doing that, I wanted to say that we're doing a Zoom webinar. So everybody these days is very familiar with Zoom. This is the first time I've done a webinar on Zoom. And so there is the slight possibility of a technical issue, technical difficulty. In the event that that happens, one of my teammates is standing by and will let me know if people can't hear me or if we're having any other issues. So I wanted to give a quick agenda. We're only going to go for 30 minutes today, but I wanted to let everybody know what the plan is, what we'll be reviewing, and yeah, hope everybody really enjoys what we're going over and learns more about Better AI. If you're a current Better AI user, I hope that you can find more value in what we've built and what you're able to use. And if you're a prospective Better AI user, I hope that we can answer any questions and entice you enough to sign up and use the Better AI assistant. So I have a little slide deck that I want to share. And again, my first time using Zoom webinar, so it might have a little bit of technical difficulty, but we'll give it a try. Let's see if this will work. So I hope you're able to see this slide and not the Zoom presenter screen, but so today we're going to go over how to use a personal AI assistant. The goal with everything that we built with Better AI is really to create something that simplifies people's lives, as I've mentioned before, and as you've seen if you've gone to our website or anything. And so my hope is that we can showcase today really how we're moving in that direction and the value that we're bringing. So the agenda that we have for today is discussing briefly the value of an AI assistant. I'll talk a little bit about how I use my assistant and show some of those examples. I will also dive into a larger kind of feature showcase of everything the assistant can do. Talk a little bit about future developments that we have for Better AI and where we're trying to take the product. And then at the end, there will be some time, I'll leave some time for Q&A. And you should see a Q&A option that you're able to type questions into. Depending on the amount of questions that we get, I don't know what I'll be able to achieve in terms of answering here on the webinar. But I will reach out to anybody with a question that I don't get to answer while we're here live together. So in terms of the value of an AI assistant, one of the main things that I've found with technology is its convenience. And I think when you look at the large players who are dominating consumer tech and consumer software, it's really the companies that have been able to amass the type of offering that just provides a lot of convenience in our lives. And I think when you look at companies like Amazon and Google and Apple and Facebook and Microsoft, their offerings and their solutions are growing. And that's just really because by having a single point of contact, by doing everything in Google or everything in Gmail, I have to think about things less. And that provides a lot of value to me, which is why you see people so unwilling to change kind of their tech setup. If they're an Apple iOS person, you know, that's a big shift to go away from that because they've already gone through the work of figuring everything out and it's now their single point of contact. And to change that, you know, can be stressful, daunting, which is why you don't see people do it that often. And so with Better AI, the idea was to create an assistant that was your single point of contact, where you didn't have to jump out of different apps. You didn't have to have kind of in your brain the order of operations of how do I do A, B, and C, but simply I go to my assistant, I ask for something, and it happens. which is also what is kind of the value that conversation brings. I think if everybody could afford an assistant, they would pay for an assistant, a human real life assistant to help them. But that's impractical for almost everyone. But we see technology wanting to move in this direction, especially with the voice assistants from Amazon and Google, Apple as well with Siri. Conversation is natural to us as humans. It's fluid. We don't have to think about it too much. Asking for things is not something that's hard to do. And really, when we ask for something to be done, we are kind of passing the responsibility on to whoever we ask, assuming they'll do it, to handle whatever that objective is. And we don't have to worry about then diving into it and figuring it out. So that's kind of the general overview of kind of the value that I believe that Better AI brings now and will continue to bring in the future. And so I want to jump into, let me share my screen again and jump into my actual assistant and share that with you guys. Okay, so you should be seeing my my iMessage. So I'm an Apple user. Everything I'm doing on with my assistant and messaging in general is on iMessage. But you'll see that the Better AI experience is one that's delivered what we like to refer to as platform agnostic, and therefore, whether you're using Apple or whether you're using Android or whatever the solution may be, you're not tethered to one operating system. Your assistant operates as if it was really a human being, and therefore, whether, as I said before, Apple or Android or whatever the operating system or the platform may be, your Better AI system will work with that system. Right now, it's SMS. In the future, it will be. In the future, we'll have email and phone call, and that's much in the future. But again, those things will operate independent of whether you're an Apple iOS user or a Google Android or whatever the platform may be, and therefore you don't ever really have to worry about will your assistant be available to you, or will this world that you've created with your assistant, will it go away if you switch from having an iPhone to having like a Samsung, for example, or a Google Pixel or whatever it may be. So here you'll see, and again, I'm on my computer, and this is actually one of the great benefits that I have is being able to message on my computer. So I'm often on my computer, obviously working, but whether I'm on my phone or my computer, I can interact with my assistant. I know, because I use Apple products, that I'm able to do this on with an iMessage, I believe, or I would hope within other, whether it's Windows or other operating systems, if you have a messaging app, that you'll be able to do that. We're also looking to build Better AI assistance connection into other messaging apps like WhatsApp and others as well. But for right now, everything I'm showing you is iMessage, and you're able to set up your computer to receive just regular SMS messages instead of the blue Apple iMessage as well. Okay, so what are the primary things that I use my assistant for? Right now, the main value that a Better AI assistant delivers comes in kind of three categories or three buckets, if you will. So the first is, and I'm going to just type on my iMessage so you can see, but the first actually we'll just refer to as reminder. So this is setting up any kind of reminder, and reminders are very easy to trigger. You just simply have to ask, remind me, and then you can ask for whatever it is that you need reminding. So for example, remind me to take out the trash tonight at 8 p.m. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and can be done in a lot of different date and time fashions. So, remind me on Saturday at 8 to take the dog for a walk. Great, worked out perfectly. Let's see, let's get a little tricky with it. And just as a disclaimer, or full disclosure, the likelihood is that my assistant will get some things wrong. And I'm going to show you how to navigate that. And as we are still developing better AI, I personally, as the CEO and founder, am happy to see some mistakes. Obviously, I wish it was perfect and didn't make any mistakes, but it helps us as a company and as a team in building this product to know how to improve it. And I'll dive more into that a little bit later. So let's say, remind me next Friday at noon to get lunch. So this I would actually consider, the way that I've phrased this, I would consider it to be a mistake, because I was actually not thinking about December 11th, but the following Friday. I know that next Friday or next week, those types of things are used differently by different people, and so some of that, I guess, contextualization that people use and how they phrase things might not always be perfect. So let's just say, for example, that I got this wrong and that I actually didn't want it for December 11th. I simply can just say undo. So undo, which you can say undo that, please undo the last action, whatever it may be. Undo is a helpful way to reverse whatever the most recently completed action was. So undo is not necessarily cancel or delete, even though it achieves those functions. If you were to say, for example, you see earlier in that conversation, I said, remind me to take out the trash tonight at 8 p.m. I couldn't undo that one now because I've already created actions, or I have completed requests after that. So undo only works for the most recently completed action. So in this case, that reminder of get lunch on Friday, December 11th at noon, that now has been taken off of off for my assistant, and I won't get that reminder. So let's say instead I want to say remind me Friday, and I'm assuming it's the 18th at noon to get lunch. Well, now it's December 11th. It looks like it's stuck. Let me just make sure I have that day right. Yep, so that would be the right date. It didn't understand the phrasing correctly, so I'm going to undo that again. So one thing that also may be happening, this whole demonstration is a rather unusual experience because it you normally won't fire off 20 to 30 minutes worth of requests to your assistant. So each one of these requests is being processed, and I'm hoping that it won't lag too long, because then obviously our time spent together today will be of not as much value. Let's see. So sometimes if your assistant is trying to process too many requests, as with any technology, it can get stuck. And so one of the ways that we've built to kind of reset the conversation is the ability to use phrases like cancel, never mind, forget it. So let's try never mind and see if we can unstick or get the assistant unstuck. Okay. So Friday the 18th at noon to get lunch, that didn't work. It might have been a slight error with the with too many requests coming too repeatedly at the assistant. Let's try remind me to get lunch December 18 at noon. Okay, so there you go. That one worked. I'm guessing that the remind me Friday the 18th at noon to get lunch might have worked if we hadn't kind of fired off 3 or 4 rapid succession reminders. So I'm going to take a quick, I'm going to step away quickly from the iMessage screen to show you what's happening within your account and how you can see those things. So let me log into my account. Well, actually, I'll show you a dummy account just so you don't see all of the things I've saved and all of my information. Share. Give me 1 second. Great. So you should now be seeing my Better AI web profile. As you'll see here, you can go, well, you should be seeing my, let me just double check to make sure that I'm, okay. That's not what I wanted. So if you go to betterai.ai, you'll be able to sign in, as you'll see here at the top, which will take you to our application sign-in page. Okay, so it already had me logged in. So this is a dummy account that I've created. You'll see here that you have your yourself with your information, what you've entered. Additionally, you can add new family members. So let's say that I wanted to add my wife. I can give her an avatar. I can say that her name is Chelsea. You can select a relation. We'll just give her a dummy birthday. We'll say 12/8/1983. Email test@test.com. 1, 2, 3. So now my wife is saved in there. Anytime you add someone to your profile and you add a phone number, they will actually receive messages from your assistant. So now both you and that family member can message your assistant. So let me jump back to the messages, and I'll show you an example of the value that that can provide. So you should be seeing my iMessage screen. My wife Chelsea and I both use our assistant Lucille, so I can tell my wife if I want to remind her of something. The value of that feature is that I don't have to remember to tell her in a future date and time, or I don't have to worry about telling her right now because I want to get it off in my head and have her then worry about, over the next few days, okay, what was it that he told me, or her having to write it down or put it in an app. So I can say, remind Chelsea Friday at 9:30 that I need to go to the DMV. So on Friday at 9:30 a.m., she will get a message from our assistant, a text message saying, this is a reminder from Blair, I need to go to the DMV. We've used that feature quite a bit, and we're working currently, it's not available yet, but we're working on what I would refer to as batch reminders. So one of the things, like our school offers school lunches while we're here in the, dealing with shelter in home, or shelter in place and homeschooling. So something that we do is go and pick up those school lunches, being a starving entrepreneurial family. And those are available Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11. So one of the features, and again, I'm not going to send this through because it isn't available and ready yet, but one of the features we're working on is remind me and Chelsea Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 to pick up school lunches. So now this will send both Chelsea and I a message on those days at that time to pick up those school lunches. The value there, now we're starting to see from a conversation perspective, is to take all these things that you'd have to do in a calendar or reminder app. Because one of the biggest questions I get all the time is, how is this different than Siri? How is this different than using Amazon Echo or Google Assistant? And the difference is that as we move more into these kind of broader, more conversationally complex requests, which are easier for us as people just to say, I need a reminder these days at this time. That's something that these other services can't do currently, and that we're building a world around so that you can conversationalize your needs so that you don't have to think through everything, you just have to ask it. Something that we have built, and now I'll move a little bit into calendar and the calendaring features that we have. Quickly, I'll add that calendar requires, or to manage your calendar, you have to integrate your calendar into your account. This is something that will happen during onboarding. I'm going to jump back over to my web profile to show what that looks like in the event that you haven't, in the event that you chose not to integrate your calendar account during the onboarding. So you'll see here in the web profile that I have my profile, I have my activity. This is where all of the reminders and remembers, which I'll talk about in a second, and calendar items will be available. But also I have integrations. So here I would need to add a calendar account, or internet account as we also refer to them. So I can select whether it's for myself or for my wife. And then I can select whether for that person, whether it's personal or work related. And it always defaults to personal when you add a new calendar event with your assistant. So, and I can talk about that more a little bit later, but right now you can either integrate with Google or you can integrate with Microsoft. I'm not going to jump into that just due to time. But now let's go back to the message app. So now with calendar, I'm able to say things like put, team, put youth meeting on my calendar for tonight at 8 p.m. Pretty straightforward. I can also say put, or I can say create an event titled Dog Park for today at 2 p.m. And I can say add Chelsea, my wife. What this will do is it will create the event, and if she has an integrated account with our assistant, which she does, this will actually take that same event and put it on her calendar. So it doesn't send her a calendar invite. It just takes the same event and adds it to her calendar. So being husband and wife, that's simple and often necessary in managing calendars, because sometimes I don't want to be bombarding her with calendar invitations, but I want her to have something on her calendar as well. Previously, I showed you the example of creating a batch reminder, and that's also something that we've done with calendars. So for example, my kids right now at home doing homeschool have to do all of their classes online on Zoom calls, and they have them every day and they're at different times. And it's kind of proven to be a little bit of a headache. One of the features that we've recently built is to kind of batch create those events with your assistant. So for example, I can say put Eloise, who's my middle child, Eloise Zoom on my calendar for, let's say, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 8:30. So you can see now those have all been added to my calendar. I can also do them if they have different times. So I can say put Adelaide Zoom, who's my oldest daughter, on the calendar for Wednesday at 9, Thursday at 10, and Friday at noon. So you can see it added all of those things to my calendar, which in these small instances, you may think, that's not terrible. I could do that on my own calendar rather quickly. But when you start to extrapolate and think, I have 3 kids, these times change all the time. They are set over many weeks and months. To be able to just do this quickly in a conversation, in my humble opinion, is quite valuable. We're running low on time. I'm going to discuss quickly our remember feature. And then, but all the while, if you have any questions, feel free to jump into the Q&A, which I hope you can find and is available to you, and enter any of those questions, and I will answer them here in a couple minutes. But lastly, I wanted to discuss the remember feature. So remember is something that I think will provide immense value to Better AI users now and into the future. And what remember is basically any information that you don't want to carry around in your head or write down somewhere. You're able to ask your assistant to remember that. So I can say that, remember that our water bill account number is, this number, right? And I think oftentimes we find that in the future, or that in random moments, we have a need for information and we just can't remember what it is, access it. I find that oftentimes whenever I go somewhere, somebody needs a child's social security number. I don't know what those are. I don't remember them. I have my own memorized. Unfortunately, I don't have my children's, but I'm able to put that here and then ask my assistant. And I can ask by saying, show me, or I can say, tell me my water bill account number. And then it'll return that information to you. There's a lot more in terms of the remember feature, but really it's whatever you can think of. I don't want to carry this around in my brain. I want to be able to just give it to somebody else, have them remember it for me, have it available to me whenever I want to ask for it. That's something that you can send along to your assistant. So we're at about time. I don't see any questions in the Q&A, which is totally fine. Feel free to send me an email at blair@betterai.co, which is different than the website, which is betterai.ai. Lastly, one of the things I wanted to share was that as we are an early stage startup trying to do something that nobody else is really doing right now, feedback is extremely helpful for us. And one way that you can actually log feedback within your own assistant is just to type the hashtag feedback. You can do just that. If you send that, it will notify us, and it'll include a snippet of the last few messages, which will show us, what might have gone wrong if something went wrong and you wanted to share it. Or you can actually add a message inclusive with that. So you can say, feedback, I didn't mean for the event to be today, but tomorrow, which is extremely helpful because it's then when we get that feedback message and the snippet of what you asked just prior to that, we can see what went wrong and can address it more easily. One of the questions that we got was to, and we'll end with this unless another question pops up, was to show how to ask the assistant to remember a picture of something. So this is a great example. This is a great question. Let me see if I have a picture readily available that I can, I'll use the image that I used on the beginning of the slide. So if I were just to send this picture to my assistant should ask me what that image should be saved as. We'll see if the assistant does what it's supposed to do. And if not, I can say, remember this picture as the intro slide to my webinar presentation. And see if this, and it might have been jammed up with too many kind of different requests, but we'll see how this responds. I think it got a little. Okay, it's trying to execute a few different things. So let's try it again. So while we wait for that to respond, this where it says, okay, what's this about? Assuming you weren't, again, sending an intense amount of requests in a very short period of time, your system would respond with, okay, what's this about? And then that's where you would respond with what it is that you wanted your assistant to remember that picture for. And then in the future, when you ask, okay, so this says, okay, what's its description? We'll just copy this. Okay, well in that one instance, that didn't work. I'll have to check that out. But when you're saving an image, and it should work for you if it's just, again, if you're just managing it as a one-off and not with all these other different requests. But you would then be able to say, show me the picture of the intro slide to my webinar, something like that. And then it would message you back that image. All right, well, we're a little bit over time. I want to thank everybody for joining. I hope this was valuable. We'll post this to our YouTube playlist with all the different videos of how to use the assistant. And we'll email that out to all the attendees today. And I'm going to stop my share. But yeah, if you have any questions, just send me an email at blair@betterai.co. And look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Thanks.